What's going on, guys? Welcome back to NolanTCG, and we are back here today for another month of the OCG recap. So this month, with the ban list coming into effect, there's probably going to be a bit of a change going forward. I did still attempt to stay away from like the typical OCG meta stuff, considering it's just been dominated by Virtual World and Drytron for the past little while, with like some Eldlich sneaking in. But today we've managed to get a hold of a Traptrix deck list, which I thought was quite interesting. A weird enough Cyberse Eldlich Paleozoic list, which I thought was very interesting, and it took a lot of digging, but I eventually found it. Then last off, we have an OCG Shaddoll list. The reason I went with that one is pretty interesting, so we'll show you that one when we get to it. But as always, before we do get started, please remember to drop down below and hit that subscribe button if you are new here, because we are always happy to have new people to the channel. And let's get on into the recap. So starting us off, as you see in front here, we've got the Traptrix deck list. I thought this one was quite interesting because it does play that amazement package that I am really pushing. I think this engine will be very good if you're playing track-based decks. So when the new set does drop, definitely pick this up straight away. It's going to be very, very good. Then of course we do have the new Traptrix stuff, which I thought was quite interesting. But we'll make sure to switch it over to OCG. So starting us off, we've got 2 copies of the Administrator Archelino. I can never remember how to say that properly. Then we've got 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Springs, and the 1 copy of Ghostspell and Haunted Mansion. 3 copies of Maxi. The 2 copies of Dianea. 1 copy of the new card in Giuliano. 3 copies of Mantis, and 3 copies of Mumelo. Really, overall, some standard ratios with the Traptrix lineup with just the 1 Giuliano checked in. I should be avoiding saying this as much as possible, because I don't know how to say this one properly. Then we've got 3 copies of Prosp after that, and then getting into the traps, we've got, of course, the 2 copies of Horror House. The standard engine that you do play with, trap-based decks is the 2 Horror House and the 2 Administrator. Then we've got 3 Compulse, 1 Floodgate, 1 Gravediggers, and later on we've got 1 Time-Space Trap Hole for our Trap Hole lineups. Then in the extra deck, there is no copy of Rafflesia, so that's a thing. Then, of course, we've got 1 copy of Imperial Order, 3 Impermanence, 3 Solemn Strike, 2 Bardiche, and 2 Torrential Tribute round out our trap lineup. Then for that extra, we do have the 1 copy of the Traptrix Alumeris. Then we've got 2 copies of Sarah, just good old Link 1. 1 of the Link 2s in Utricula. I butchered that. It's Utriciulara, and I completely ruined that. Then we get into our XEs. We've got, of course, the 1 Tapir, 1 Redoer. We've got a Utopia package, but not a full Utopia package. We're not playing the Utopia double in the main deck. I'm assuming it's because you're worried it might conflict with the Imperial Order, but we are playing just a Utopia and a Lightning. Then, of course, we have 1 Zeus after that. For our Synchros, this feeds into our Crossroads Dragon, but we've got the 1 copy of Blood Rose and the 1 Black Rose with that Crossroads Dragon. Of course, because it contribute plant monsters, we do play some plant monsters. We've got that Dianea, and the 1 card that I keep going to say repeatedly because I don't know how to say the new ones. Then we've got an Asusa, the Earth Charmer, 1 Unicorn, and 1 Access Code. These will just typically get us into the Access Code package, because we'll go the Asusa. It'll take a Max C from the opponent's graveyard, hopefully. Then you just go into your Unicorn and your Access Code Talker, and you win the game. Then we've got the side deck. This was a really weird side deck. Considering he's not playing Crossout Designator, I thought it was very odd to have a bunch of one-offs. But we've got the 1 of Pank, the 1 of Nibiru, 1 Lancia, 1 Retaliating Sea, 1 Skullmeister, and 1 Droll and Lockbird. Then for the spells, we've got 1 Mind Control, 2 Lightning Storm, 1 Duster, and a Cyclone. Then 2 Anti-Spell Fragrance, and 2 different Dimension Ground will round out the side deck. Okay, now next off we've got the Shaddoll deck that I've gone from the OCG. The reason why I found this so interesting is because it doesn't play the new cards that we're getting in Ghosts from the Past. I thought it was very curious. I kind of figured that they were somewhat playable. Apparently, they're just not playable. So, of course, for this list, we've got 3 copies of Ali, 2 Effect Veiler, and 3 Maxi. 1 copy of the Shaddoll Aerial. Then we've got the Gammas. Of course, the Driver comes later on. Just 2 Wendy, then 2 Beast, 1 Dragon, 3 Hedgehog, and 2 Squamata for the Shaddoll package. I did think 2 Wendy was quite curious. Is 2 Wendy correct? I think 2 Wendy might be correct. E-Telly. Target. Flip it face down somehow. Good card. Then we've got 2 copies of Called by the Grave for the spells, 3 El Shaddoll Fusion, 1 Foolish Burial, and 2 Invo, 2 Meltdown, 3 Shaddoll Fusion, 1 Terraforming, and 1 Talents, which I assume is the 40th card in this guy's deck. I thought that was quite interesting. And then 2 copies of Schism will round out the main deck. For the extra, we have, of course, 2 copies of App Cologne. Then we have 3 copies of Construct, 2 copies of Winder, and the 1 Agoidis, Caligula, and Macabre for our Invoked package. Then for our links, we've got, of course, 1 copy of Access Code, 1 Artemis, 1 Grav Controller, the Verte, and the Selene. I am super against playing Verte in Shaddolls, because I just feel like you're losing so much value off using a Verte to send a Shaddoll fusion. Like, yes, I guess it just makes 2 monsters anything, but I feel as though this kind of, because it stops your turn, does this not, like, slow you right down, or do you just, like, burn free resources and away you go? Then we've got the side deck that is 2 copies of DD Crow, 2 copies of Nibiru, and the 1 Purgatrio sneaks in there. Then we've got 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, 2 Link Spider, 2 Lightning Storm, then 2 copies of Super Poly, and the 2nd copy of Talents will round out that side deck. Okay, and last off we have the deck list that I found most interesting out of everything here, and that was the Cyberse Eldlich Paleozoic list. Very, very interesting list, given the fact that it heavily seems to revolve around, like, 2-card combos, but I guess everything goes to grave, so you can just kind of grind out until you see that, and when you see that, the game is over. But the main deck is, of course, 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Springs, 3 copies of your primary normal summon, well, I guess your only normal summon, in the Cyberse Gadget, 2 copies of Eldlich the Golden Lord follow that up, then 3 copies of Maxi. See, what I figured the way this deck works is that when you normal summon your Cyberse Gadget, you want to be reborning your Maxi. So this does heavily revolve around you drawing both the Cyberse Gadget and the Maxi. Of course, that does mean this deck can't really be played in the TCG. I guess you can probably play Effect Veiler, and then you try and Cyberse Gadget back the Effect Veiler, then go into your Link Climbing plays, but I don't know, it just seems off, only having that being the primary way that you're getting the most value out of your Cyberse Gadget. Then, of course, we do have the spells, though. It is 2 copies of the Cursed Eldland, then 3 copies of Signet Mining, 1 Black Awakening, and the card... I don't like when this card shows up in Eldlich lists, the White Destiny. I feel as though as long as you're not getting hit on the ban list, I don't think White Destiny is necessary, but it did work for this guy, so we can't really complain. Then we've got 3 copies of Conquistador, 3 Sanguine, 1 Golden Land Forever, and the 2 Haquero is the trap lineup for the Eldlich. Then we've got 3 Dynamiscus, 3 Morella, and the 1 Olenoids for the Paleozoic lineup. Of course, the Morella can access you into your Golden Lands and kind of just toolbox for essentially any card in the deck, which is great. Then we've got 3 copies of the Solemn Judgment and 3 Solemn Strike, round out the main deck. For the extra deck, of course, we've got 1 copy of Opabina, 1 Gustav Max, and 1 Totally Awesome. Then for our links, we've got the Access Code, the Heat Soul, 1 IP. Actually, going back to it, the Heat Soul wasn't in Ghost from the Past. Curious. Very interesting. Then we've got the 1 Phoenix and 1 Unicorn. 1 Lingaribo, 1 Devotee, and 1 Disciple, with 1 Link Spider are our Link 1s. Then we've got the 1 Security Dragon, a Splash Mage, and the Update Jammer to go through even more Link climbing plays. Then for the side deck, we've got 2 copies of Artifact Lancia, 1 Pank, 1 Drollenlock, and 3 Nibiru, 2 Cosmic, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, then 2 Dimensional Barrier, 1 Imperial Order, 1 Imperm, and a 2nd copy of Oilenoidis. Of course, Totally Awesome being at 1 in the OCG, still bad. This card went to 1 early in, like, Frog Life Cycle, and it's just stayed there ever since. Those guys deserve that back, so give it back to them, please, OCG. This is why the TCG is better. But that, of course, will wrap us up here for this month's OCG recap. Of course, if you do have any decks that you want me to try and chase down for next month, do comment them down below. Hopefully, with it being a new format, we'll see like a completely new meta over there, so I'll maybe bring some meta stuff next month. But, as always, I've been Ben from NolanTCG, and have a good afternoon, everybody.